some space, knocks it down. Durant fires a three. Bang! Holiday spin move, gets inside, layup,
Win is a win. It doesn't matter if you win by 30, it doesn't matter if you win by 1. If you can go back home and celebrate W, it was good.
Let's go. This afternoon, Game 4, Nets and Bucks. Bucks won Game 3, but only scored 86 points in each of the last 2 games. That's after scoring 100-plus in their first 5 playoff games. James Harden out for a 3rd straight game with a hamstring injury, but Kevin Durant is picking up the slack in a big way, averaging nearly 32 points a game in the playoffs. And the Nets will look to take a 3-1 series lead. The Nets, by the way, have never lost the best-of-7 series with a 3-1 lead, and the Bucks have never won a series trailing 3-1. For more, let's bring in our NBA analyst. Oh, that's not Monica McNutt. That's Charles Barkley. What's up, Charles Barkley? How you doing?
Wait, what a second. Charles is on the show today?
Yeah, he's right there. You see him?
You're kidding?
No, he's right there.
Charles, it's a big anniversary, Charles.
Well, here's a big day for you.
Oh,
Jay asked me to come on and say some nice things to you, Hannah. Hey, happy birthday, girl.
Oh, yeah, I'm so...
Surprise!
Thank you. Oh, I love you. I love you. And hey, Charles, do you remember many years ago, it was like an incredible birthday for me because we were at Chicago Stadium and it was a triple overtime game. Phoenix Suns beating the Chicago Bulls. I mean, what do you remember about that day?
It was one of the coolest games I've ever played in. Because they already were boarding up the city and everything, thought we were going to get swept. So it was a very special day, I'm not going to lie.
And remind people what you said afterwards in your post game about saving the city.
Yeah, I said, we're going to save the city. We're going to save the city. Hey, Hannah, we had to listen to that all day about don't destroy the city. The city's boarded up everywhere.
Right.
By the time the game started, we said there's no way we're going to lose this game.
Oh my gosh, there is a picture they're showing on the screen. I don't know if you ever turned video of me, you,
Look
and
at that
KJ.
hair.
Well,
not on Charles, but
Charles,
on you.
You look great. You still look great. But that was, I just remember and back in the day, and Charles, now you're on the other side, you're on the media side, but I was literally right there on the bench. Right? I mean, we would talk. I remember talking to Cedric Ceballos the entire game. We could hear everything.
Wow.
Right, Charles?
Well, first of all, because you were beautiful, we like talking to you sitting beside the bench. If somebody was like Jay or Stephen A was there, we wouldn't talk to them.
That's right. That's exactly right.
I'm not mad at that. I totally get it.
Oh, my gosh. So, Charles, I mean, you remember how special that time was, and Phoenix was just absolutely rocking. It was such a blast. That obviously was a win at the old Chicago Stadium. It was so fun being there, playing in those games in that era. I mean, what does it mean to you now to see the Suns and what this franchise is doing?
Well, I'm very proud of Chris and Book and DeAndre and Money and all those guys. Hannah, the reason I live in Phoenix, they have the best fan base in the NBA. Win or lose, they're going to love you. Now you're winning. It's just a raucous place. I'm really happy for those guys. And, man, it's so much fun. And I think they're going to wrap it up tonight. I truly believe that.
You do. All right. Going for the sweep. What does it take? What does it take to win a triple overtime game in the finals?
Oh, it takes a lot of breaks, because, in triple overtime, obviously there's 1 or 2 plays, maybe just one play could go one way or the other. Number one in regulation, but also in every overtime, there's one play or another can win it or lose it. There was so many back and forth in those games. It was stressful, but obviously we won. But man, it was stressful because we lose that game, we're gonna get swept more than likely.
Have you and MJ ever talked about it?
I never want to talk about that series ever again. Ever.
I mean,
I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes thinking about what could I have done differently.
Oh, man, Charles, I mean, here you are being nice, coming on for my birthday, and, we're reminding you about that, but that was really, that was really, really special, and you brought so much joy, to the fans at Phoenix and all of us, and you still do as a broadcaster, and you know that Jay and I absolutely love you with all our hearts, so sending you big love.
Jay asked me to come on for your special day. Listen, I'm so proud of your success. You've been amazing. You had an amazing career. And Jay, I love you like a brother. But Hannah, this is just about your special day. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. I love you. Bye. Thank you so much.
Charles Barkley says he roots against all super teams. These quotes are lengthy, but they're really good. I'm going to read them too. I think it's worth hearing it all. Charles says, I'm not a fan of super teams. So listen, if they win it, they win it, speaking of the Nets. But to be perfectly clear, I'm rooting against those guys. I root against all super teams. If I'd known you guys were going to make fun of me for not winning a championship, I would have joined a super team back in my day. Me and Patrick Ewing and Karl Malone and John Stockton. But I feel good about my legacy. I'm pretty sure Patrick and John and Karl do too. LeBron started this super team thing in Miami, and hey, it's the way the game is played now. To go back to my day, even though we didn't win the championship, the Sixers were worth watching. The Knicks were worth watching. The Pacers were worth watching when Reggie was there. Same thing with Atlanta and Dominique. I just don't think it's good for business. But these young kids, they all fold to peer pressure and feel like they've got to win a championship or their life sucks. Fascinating quotes from Charles Barkley. Because I think there's so much in that to unpack. First of all, as one who came of age loving this sport in the 70s and then very much so in the golden age, which were the 80s and the 90s, he's talking about all-time great players who never won a championship. And you can say it's because Michael's teams kept beating them all, but they all got there and they all knocked on the door. Charles played him in the finals. Ewing played him tough as hell in the playoffs. It felt like almost every single year. And obviously Stockton and Malone played him in the finals in back-to-back years, and both those series went 6. They had chances to win. Charles went 6 games. In the finals at 93 with Michael. So they had chances to win, and they don't. Somewhere along the line, it became all about either you win the championship or your career is a bust. I'm not sure when that happened because it wasn't the case then. I do sort of feel like I need to raise my hand because I wonder if Mike and Mike had played some role in that. Because I think what happened was when the LeBron versus Michael, and maybe even before that, when the Kobe versus Michael debate started happening, I think that's when we started counting rings. Like, we weren't counting Larry's rings and Magic's rings. You knew that Russell had all those rings just because there were so ridiculously many of them. But we didn't count all the other best players in the NBA in the 70s, John Havlicek, Rick Barry, name whoever you want. Kareem, Elvin Hayes. We didn't sit around and count their championships as a way of determining how great they were. We never talked about Ted Williams and Ernie Banks as being anything other than all-time great players, even though they never won World Series. Winning championships didn't have to be the be-all, end-all. And then all of a sudden it was. And the conversation around the sport became, I think, the motivating factor for that. And in that regard, I cannot blame these guys for feeling as though, like, if I'm sitting in their shoes, I can see where I might say, so you're criticizing me for putting myself in the best position to win a championship. But then if I don't win a championship, you're going to say, well, he never reached his potential, or his career is on some level of failure, or whatever it is. He isn't all that great because he never won. Well, which is it? I get that. I get players feeling that way. It doesn't make me hate super teams any less, but I understand it. I'm not sure exactly what can be done about it. We need to find a way to go back to the other way. And we're never stopping the counting of the rings. The counting of the rings is now with us. That's never going to stop. So we have to figure out a way to combat the super team phenomenon without hoping that that will go away.
Oh, it's three-man weave time with Jalen and Jay. All right, where do you stand on this Clippers-Jazz series now, Jalen?
Well, Donovan Mitchell left with an injury. Doesn't look like he's going to be serious, but he also was hobbled in the previous game. So if he's not 100% for the rest of the series, I feel like the Clippers will have what it takes to actually come back and win this series. With that being said, it'll be hard-pressed for me to believe the number 1 team in the league, the Utah Jazz, will get a 2-0 lead and lose 4 out of 5 games. So I still feel like they're in pole position to advance in this series.
Well, Neil, the biggest question coming into Game 3 was, where are you, Paul? Where are you, George, right? And Paul, I am right here, George, came to the table when he played tonight. A 30-point game performance. He really stepped up. He was aggressive offensively along with Kawhi Leonard, and his team defended. Look, they forced 13 turnovers, and turnovers were a big thing for a Utah Jazz team that Donovan Mitchell was their key ball handler. And I think this is a series now.
Paul is not dead. Jalen, what did George show you? And is he a superstar or just a well-played player?
Well, I've been around this league for a very long time, and I hold tightly to the term superstar. And to me, a superstar means when I have you on my team, we're automatically contending. When LeBron James leaves Cleveland and go to Los Angeles, they're automatically contending. I see him as a superstar. I see Paul George as an all-NBA performer. I see him as a terrific player. I don't necessarily see him as a superstar. For me, they're probably off the top of my head, maybe 8 or 10 superstars in the entire NBA.
But I'll say this, Neil, you don't need to be a superstar to win a world championship. You need to be the additive piece that comes to the table and brings a high volume of scoring and being a defensive threat. And this team needs to be defensively what we thought they all could be at the start of last season.
And Neil, he plays with a superstar, one that went from Toronto winning a championship to one that went to the Clippers and asked for Paul George to come play with him. That guy's Kawhi Leonard.
And that guy also won with the Spurs before he went to Toronto. All right, both you guys went out on a limb and picked the Bucks.